Hello everyone, this is Crota coming at you, giving you game number 5 in the series. This is Star Station TE, meaning that there are only 2 spawning locations on the map, and it is always forced cross spawns. Rather interesting that how they just said, you know what? We like this map better when it's always forced cross spawns, so why don't we do exactly that? Make a map that is forced cross spawns. Also, it makes it much more difficult to try to hide a ninja expansion anywhere, something that most professional players shouldn't fall victim to, but you never know. Sometimes you just miss scouting and your opponent has 2 bases or 3 bases when you only have 2, and that just comes back to haunt you later on. Now, this is Game 5 in the Best of 5 series. As I mentioned earlier, we are all tied up at 2 games apiece, and Game 4 was a bit of a head-scratcher. Bly really sacrificing much of his economy early on to try and win the game outright. He then walked into his opponent's base, and I really just say walked into his opponent's base because that's what those roaches did. They were not very much challenged. JJAKJI was not expecting it, and it looked like the game was going to end right there. However, JJAKJI had saved up a good number of SCVs inside his base, and after a little bit of overcommitment by Bly, was able to get enough units and build up enough of an economic advantage to really take the lead once again. We are now looking perhaps at a command center first by JJAKJI. JJAKJI, command center first. This is rather risky on a map like this, especially if your opponent knows exactly where you are. Bly, on the other hand, is now just setting up his spawning pool, so it looks like it's going to be relatively safe. That one command center, it is going to be well protected with a bunker most likely placed down there, perhaps even adding a supply depot or 2 to make sure that the units do not run by all too quickly. So far, SCV now making its way down over here in order to do a little bit of scouting. You can see the Overlord is already in position and will be able to figure out what's going on his opponent's side of the base. There's that Overlord there. There is that hatchery already in position. And when are we going to be seeing gas is another important question, as Bly may be just trying to change the script a little bit and trying to go for a much heavier economic game. He was sitting on 500 minerals, but that's quickly going to be spent on queens here in just a second. There you go, now down to 220. He may try to set up a 3rd base, but that would be extremely risky at this point. No, instead, and what is he going to be doing next? Just doing the old-fashioned build, waiting to clear out this scouting SCV. That SCV's days are pretty much numbered as new, fresh Zerglings make their way out from that natural expansion. All right, drone now making its way down here, will be starting to mine at the natural expansion. You can see a bunker is already completed by JJAKJI. That Marine going to jump inside there, really no problems whatsoever. And what is happening next? There's the factory. Also, where are we waiting? What are we looking at? We are still looking at a really economic game here. JJAKJI really going back to those Hellions and hoping to clear up some of those Zerglings if there are in fact going to be a lot of Zerglings. Those Zerglings just testing the waters, want to see what's going on inside the base. He wants to see the saturation, but he doesn't see that just quite yet. He doesn't know what's going on behind this bunker. He could easily move this Overlord there to see what the saturation is at the very least, but then he wouldn't be 100% sure what's going on at the main base. It does take quite a bit of time to walk all around the map, and especially with that very slow moving Overlord, as we now see Zerglings just dancing back here, and this Overlord now spots a 3rd command center. I believe Bly is going to be Bly's going to try to be sneaky. Can't even say that slow right now. Suffering from a little bit of a sore throat. Gonna try and be sneaky in using that same roach tactic that he did in Game 4. Now, that roach tactic in Game 4 did not work out that well, but then again, the map was different, and perhaps the map being just a bit smaller does help. The Hellions are gonna clean up all of these Zerglings pretty easily, 3 shots from the Hellions, takes down a Zergling. And now what is happening next? 7 roaches already being trained. You can see that the queens are in position, ready to get some damage here. And are they going to fire off shots against those Hellions? No, it does not look like it, as the queens are now just laying down creep tumors, hoping that the roaches are just that much faster. Alright, you can see 4 Hellions now making their way in. There's those creep tumors. It looks as though, yes, 1 creep tumor already down. The roach is already in position, though, now chasing after those units. Those roaches, very, very strong, very beefy units, about to make their way off to the north and perhaps do a serious bit of damage. All of those Hellions now trying to roll all the way back home. You can see a Widow Mine is right there. Double Widow Mines on the ramp. You can see also a fair number of bunkers, and this is JJAKJI being much more cautious this time around. He wants to make sure that if his opponent does go for that crazy roach push that we saw in the previous game, that he can respond to it accordingly. SCVs, are they on auto repair? No, they are not. And you don't need that many SCVs sitting next to that bunker. If your opponent has that many roaches right there, the burst damage is simply going to be too much, as we're looking at the Hellions perhaps going around the far side. Alright, you can see 4, count them, 4 Widow Mines in position. Another Widow Mine right, or another Marauder right in here is going to be helpful. SCVs are ready to go. Alright, what's going to be happening next? Roaches are going to try and engage. There goes all of those Banelings. The Banelings just crashing themselves up on that front door. And with so much damage dealt, you can see that the bunkers in the very, very far back are still very well protected. Roaches absolutely getting destroyed here. The Marauders and the Marines. And Bly looking like he's going to be losing the JJAKJI right here. Not able to survive that push. JJAKJI really committed heavily in terms of strong defense. You can take a look. So many Widow Mines, so many bunkers. The Marines and the Marauders always had somewhere to retreat and go to, as we're looking at 43 Harvesters compared to 41. Alright, 43 Harvesters compared to 41. JJAKJI is in a much better situation this time than in the previous game. He has the additional orbital command, even though he is not currently training SCVs off of it. 86 supply compared to 51. Army supply is 42 compared to 6. That is just not good news whatsoever. And we're still looking at this army potentially growing more and more. Alright, Bly. What is Bly doing next? You can see Overlords in position off over here. You can also see a hatchery down over here as well. We are upgrading to tier 2 finally. Are we going to get into Mutalisk, and is that going to be enough? We've seen how effective JJAKJI is throughout this game using those Marines, Marauders, and Widow Mines. Medivacs are now making their way in as we are going into 1-1 upgrades. Alright, the attack force is just that strong here. Queen now trying to make its way back home. Does not look like it will be successful. There it goes. Now cleaning up some of these creep tumors as well. The creep tumors already all in. The creep tumors already cleared up here. And when are we going to be seeing perhaps the Marauders and the Marines holding the Xel'Naga Tower? That's a bit of a mistake there. You always want to hold the Xel'Naga Tower if you can easily take it without that many losses, and that's what we're taking a look at here. Overseer is now, or is being morphed on the battlefield. We're going to have plenty of detection to clear out all of these Widow Mines, but is it going to be enough? The roaches are in position here. You can see that the roaches, with their faster movement speed on creep, should be able to make a bit of a play, but no. And now JJAKJI, actually afraid of those roaches, decides to back off, perhaps hoping to get more medivacs and hoping to get even more units, as we're also going into concussive shells. That additional third base by JJAKJI, that income should be a grave difference now, up to, I believe, about 500 to 600 resource difference between these two armies, and that 600 resource difference between two armies is absolutely huge. 600 resources, that's like losing 6 roaches a minute without dealing any damage whatsoever. You have to be extremely careful, as the roaches are now wandering around on the far side. 100 versus 153. We are now at the 13-minute mark in this game, and it feels like JJAKJI could easily get to 200 supply in the next 3 minutes. Taking a play out of the Zerg playbook, trying to train up a whole bunch of units here. He is currently supply blocked, and that is the main reason why he is not training up units. You can see him now just training up, already at 165 supply over 169, and now just continuing to build more units, perhaps bunkers, for all of these Marauders and Marines to go if that attack ever comes to fruition. $169 over 169. 4 supply depots now being added on as well. We are going into double Widow Mines, no siege tanks. And what is going on over here? Marauders quickly taken out by a handful of Marines and... Roaches taken out by a handful of Marines and Marauders. But there is the Burrow here, so Bly could easily come back out and take control of this Zelnaga Tower in just a moment. Coming back around, you can see Marauders and Marines lying in wait here. Every which corner of the map is already spotted. As the Roaches now go for, I believe, a final push down here on the bottom right-hand side. Alright, we may see a little bit of scouting onto that Overlord. The Overlord, does he see that one medevac? I don't believe so. I believe it was just beyond sight range. No, he sees it now. There is one Marine, or 2 Marines, 2 Marauders already unloading inside the main base. Meanwhile, another medevac happening over here. And what is going on? Where are those units actually going? I'm not 100% sure. Now just going up onto the high ground instead. The Marines and the Marauders are just getting easy shots, as we're now getting a small attack force at the front door. Alright, the Marauders and the Marines just pummeling down onto the low ground. The Roaches are going to try to engage here instead. There is the attack. A little bit of micro, very strong micro indeed, though, to try and make sure that the Marauders stay alive. Alright, let's see what's happening next. Banelings melt the rest of their targets. There you go. One Marauder trying to focus back the last of the Roaches, and it looks like it is going to win out on that fight here. That one very low hit point Marauder down to 40 some odd hit points does have a lot of healing. And here comes the rest of the attack force. JJAKJI looking like he's just going to clean up everything that is left. And I believe that is going to be GG. With so many of these Roaches already on the run. Alright, Roaches just continuing that chase. Let's see what's happening back over here. All those units are just sitting inside, just beyond sight reach. Bly does have a little bit of work to do if he wants to get back into this game. More Marines, Marauders, and Widow Mines being added to the army. The Marauders are now about to challenge, and all of those Widow Mines are right there. That is absolutely scary, as another queen does fall. Marauders and Marines now attempting to shoot this down. It looks like it is going to fall here. A handful of Marauders and Marines take a fair bit of damage. And are we going to perhaps see another elevator drop as the Widow Mines now need a burrow? Oh, that's going to be a rather long burrow time. The Banelings just straight up flat out detonate on all of the Widow Mines. A huge loss there, but JJAKJI, now completely unchallenged with all of his Marines, should be able to fight all of this back. Alright, let's take a look at this. All the Marauders and the Marines are now going after drones. More Marauders and the Marines go out and after Roaches. Roaches do deal a fair bit of damage. More Marauders and Marines are coming in the back, and there is the GG. AcerBly loses to JJAKJI here in this best of 5. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it.